Okay, it is 6:13 PM, so we are back in the meeting. And we are ready for our next item on our agenda, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I think there's Dr. Anderson who can help us.
Thank you.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, looks like the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, do we have a second for that motion? Ms. Stewart Campbell? Any further discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Gonna vote by hand, Dr. Bombright? Yes? All right, the motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda, school highlights.
All right, good evening. This is our favorite part of the agenda, or at least my favorite part. We're going to be talking about living the dream this evening. And Reverend Williams, former board member, he will be sharing a little bit about the Living Their Dream Awards. You've seen some names on the screen of some of our winners, and they have been competing in raising resources, and he's going to share a little bit about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Williams.
Happy Thursday, everyone.
You
Happy
do?
Thursday, everywhere. Thank you
Good,
very much.
good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I was not expecting that part of it. Living the dream, we've been around for 39 years, and part of our celebration of Dr. King and his legacy, we present community awards and scholarships. In past 39 years, we've given somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 worth of scholarships to Shawnee County students. This year, we had two board members that were recipients of some of our community awards. Mr. Lalo Munoz says they received the Robert and Hazel Gomez Award, and Mrs. Laura Kluk over at Williams Magnet received our Vivian Scales Education Award in the elementary school category. And some guy named John Williams, who was formerly associated with the school board, got the Larry Johnson Humanitarian Award. And I'm also here to, for the last 5 years, we've had a food drive. I think this is our 6th year. And I'm here to present the traveling plaque. That goes once, anyone here from Whitson?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. On behalf of Living the Dream to Topeka Public Schools. You take it back home.
Yes.
There we go. I'd like to present you our traveling plaque. Appreciate all your efforts and also a certificate.
Thank you very much.
And I'll see you next week when it's up there.
For just a minute for some photo, please.
Thank you.
And since you are here this evening and you took the time to be here, can you share what you all raised and the number of
Absolutely.
bids that you raised and answer any questions for you or Reverend
Absolutely.
Williams?
thank you for having me, first of all. We are excited. Reverend Williams came to get the plaque from us earlier this week, and we were hopeful that he would be presenting it to us again. So that was our big push this year, as we had won last year, and we told our families and our students we want to defend that title. Our STUCO, our student council, was really in charge of leading the efforts. They went into classrooms and helped encourage families to bring in cans. We also had a prize for the top 2 classes, and it was quite a competition. We had families on the last couple of days that were bringing in over 100 cans at a time. They took it very seriously. And so our grand total was 1,865 cans
Nice.
or items. Any question?
Right. Any questions from my fellow board members? Mr. Munoz, looks like you have a question.
Well, it's hard to sort of, just like the Chiefs coming back and winning that, how do you engage students and staff in order to be able to sort of get out there and get excited about this effort?
That's a really great question. I think it comes from the students are really leading it. So we have student council members at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, one from every classroom. And they're the ones that are out there collecting and the ones promoting it with their classmates. We were also able to promote it at our school assemblies and just really get them excited about what this can do for others in the community, and just really students leading that effort and students being the ones to say, hey, let's do this. And so I think that really goes a long way when it's coming from students.
All right. Anyone else? Miss Bowley?
I had one for Reverend Williams. And congratulations on getting it back. How exciting.
Yes, ma'am.
So on living the dream, is there some way that Topeka Public Schools can encourage others to apply for these scholarships? What is it that we can do to spread even more wealth for our students?
Just emphasize the fact, free money, you don't have to pay back.
That's true.
The last few years, our numbers have increased because people in the community have been sponsoring our scholarships. So I think this year we had around 25 scholarships, plus or minus. Last year we had 32, so.
It was a beautiful event, and everyone involved, I want to congratulate them because it was a very enjoyable evening. And it was so wonderful to see so many of our local students, our district students,
Yeah, we tried to
walk
do it.
across the stage and benefit from all of your hard work and your committees. Thank you.
We appreciate the partnership with the Big Public Schools as well. And hope
Thank
it
you.
continues going forward.
Anyone else?
Did we acknowledge the recipients?
We can also scholarship recipients.
Yes.
And as those scholarship recipients are there, we often take just a 2-minute break for a photo. May we do that with Whitson?
Absolutely.
Reverend Williams? Come right on in the middle.
Okay, everyone right here, 3, 2.
We'll maybe see you next year. That does conclude our highlights. We have some Black History events and some cultural reports, but we're going to do that under Superintendent's report.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, our next item on the agenda, public comments. Ms. Lister, do we have anyone wishes to?
We do. We have one. It's next to you there, Miss Amelia Black.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Black, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to address the board. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, we ask that you submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If the complaint is against the superintendent, please address your written complaint either to me as board president or to the clerk of the board. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. First of all, hello, my name is Amelia Black, 1816 Southwest 3rd Street, Topeka, Kansas. I'm speaking as an individual. First, thank you all for what you do for TPS in your time. I'm in front of you today to address the inequality in pay and benefits for the non-certified classroom teachers, specifically long-term subs that are covering a classroom for the length of the entire school year. These teachers are asked to bear the workload of a certified teacher without equitable pay and benefits. In an ideal situation, all of our teachers would be certified. However, we are in the midst of a teacher vacancy crisis, not just within our district, but the state and nation. We are looking at the current and future state of our teaching profession. We need to be supporting our non-certified classroom teachers. They are the future of our teaching profession. Support starts with paying them equitably and giving them benefits. During the holidays and breaks, they are not paid. They are not giving personal days or sick leave. If a non-certified classroom teacher is sick, they don't come in. They don't get paid. And we all know that new staff are more likely to be sick because they haven't built up an immunity yet. I'm aware of a specific case where a non-certified teacher has a medically fragile child. When she can't be there, she doesn't get paid, but she still leaves plans for the subs. Many of our non-certified classroom teachers are in the process of becoming licensed teachers. They do a fabulous job as teachers, but they do not get benefits. They get no sick time, health insurance, and their pay is a lot less. Let's do the math at the highest rate that a long-term sub can make, which is based on the building that they are at. $200 times 190 days equals $38,000. That does not take into account that the first 4 weeks, they are paid at a different rate. The 200 is based on if they are working in a high needs school. In addition, they don't work the actual 190 days, the snow days, which they don't get paid for, the flex days, and so forth. This is more than $10,000 less than a first-year certified teacher makes. The classroom teachers are a budgeted item. When a budget is approved, it is approved for the position as if filled with a certified teacher. So this isn't an issue of there not being money in the budget, but an issue of choosing not to retain quality subs. The district is already saving $10,000 plus the cost of insurance and sick leave. Giving the non-certified teachers benefits would help to retain them. A first-year non-certified teacher is going to have similar struggles as a first-year certified teacher, but less struggles in their second and third years within the classroom. If we embrace and support these non-certified classroom teachers, then their first official year as certified classroom teachers will give them a huge advantage in the classroom. Retaining the non-certified classroom teachers is a benefit not only to the district, but to our students. I feel that one of the most disturbing things for a child's education is inconsistency, especially when it comes to teachers. If a classroom is having a high sub turnover, this affects the students not only academically, but emotionally. We need to support these teachers as they work through their schooling to become certified, not only with equitable pay and benefits, but also paying them extra for requirements like mentor meetings, having one-on-one mentoring and praxis test reviews, and letting them help with our after-school programs so that they can work next to a certified teacher and pick up on techniques from certified coworkers.
Ms. Black,
Thank you.
your time is up. Do you need another minute to finish your thought?
No, that
Okay.
was, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Okay. Moving on our agenda for the evening, the next item is to approve business by consent.
I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second for that motion? Dr. Bonebrake seconds. Any further discussion on the motion?
Yes, so.
Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Yes, I have a question. I would like to learn more about this agreement with Family Service and Guidance and their new facility, their resident facility. So if someone could speak to that.
Dr. Anderson.
Let me make sure there's no one here from, let me make sure there's no one here from counseling or Dr. Harrington or anyone else before I speak to that. All right. With that facility, if you haven't visited, it's pretty amazing. They just opened up a facility that students who need long-term services can receive those. And so as we have our young people that are in need who may be placed out of care at the hospitals, which is generally what happens after their insurance it concludes, or if they don't qualify to be placed at the hospital, Family Service and Guidance will now take our students, keep them for almost 2 months, actually, if that's a need for that kind of residential care, which we did not have before now. And our continued partnership, they're on our mental health team, so we meet every month, allows for us to now have true residential long-term care in the way that we haven't had before. So that contracts allows us to be able to partner in that way. That's a general description. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, thank you, because I didn't think we had that before. Like I know Auburn Washburn does, and so I wondered where our kids went who needed like residential facility. So, but now we have that.
Now that Family Service and Guidance has a new facility, it
Mhm.
is remarkable. Kids can stay overnight. They can go straight from school there. And then they have family counseling as well. I mean, it is truly a remarkable place. And the length of time may vary, but it can be up to, and again, approximately 2 months is what I want to share, but it can be up to that. And the issue right now is because of the wait for hospitals and or insurance related reasons. Young people can't always have that as their place in which they can stay long term. We are excited about the Family Service Guidance Partnership, as well as what their team is doing in our buildings currently, even beyond that, with having therapists come to our schools on site.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Dr. Anderson, it did look like Dr. Harrington is here. She's back outside of the boardroom if you needed her.
Thank you. Thanks, you may have covered.
Okay. All right. Any further issues or items to be discussed on the motion? All right, so there is a motion on the table. We'll move forward to the vote.
Vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
All right, thank you so much. It looks like the next item on our agenda is then superintendent's report.
We are excited to have Robinson Middle School here this evening. So I never call February Black History Month because there's no one month to celebrate history for a particular race or ethnic group. But this is a month where we highlight history in our Black history, but it's also the month in which we celebrate and highlight some of the areas of diversity throughout Topeka Public Schools. To that end, we are excited to have Principal Strom here. She is quite a dynamic woman who does quite a bit in terms of cultural activities throughout her school. So she's going to come on up and introduce her assistant principal who's here with her. And then introduce her team, Ms. Blackman and others. So why don't we start off with Ms. Strom. As Ms. Strom comes forward, our Black History Month activities are being guided in part at that school, but also really across Topeka by Mr. Cates, who has an exhibition that he's preparing. So I've asked for this entire team, everything from a mural project to the Black History activities, to really take hold of this space and share some of what's going on in Topeka Public Schools, because it is truly dynamic. So we'll start off with Ms. Strom.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Good evening, board members and President Tatum. So today I would like to introduce some of our staff that are here and all the work that they're doing. So Mr. Cates, would you join us, please? Annalise Austin, she's our student that's joining us today to talk about their project that they're currently working on. And Ms. Blackman, she's over there, to talk about our awesome mural. So come on up, Annalise. All right, this is my partner here, Miss Hauser. She's our assistant principal. We've prepared just a handout. This is just some of the highlights that we've done this year at our school and continue to do throughout the year. And just really thank our staff, our students for really stepping up and involving themselves and opening up to the diversity and accepting a lot of celebrating the differences that we have at our school, because I always tell all our staff, Robinson is a gem. There's a lot of things that are happening, great things that are happening there due to all of the staff support, community that we have at our school throughout the year. So as you get, does everyone get a piece of, okay. So I'm not gonna read everything that we've done, but I'm gonna highlight some of the things, and Mr. Cates will go into the Black History Month events. But early September, October, we celebrated our Hispanic Heritage Month. And this is a yearly event now, but we have our Abuelito Grandparents' Day, where we invited all of our grandparents of all races, obviously, but everyone was invited. We had some favorite pastime games. We had a huge brunch for or breakfast for them. And our students from our ELL classes actually performed several skits for our grandparents. So it was a really neat morning. During the Indigenous Heritage Month in November, we focused on Indian boarding schools. So our students really got to learn about the history and the challenges of our Indigenous community. And in fact, we found out that we had a boarding school here in Topeka. So that was really neat. And also Robinson, Charles Robinson, our founder, or the school that's named after, he was actually a superintendent at one point at one of the boarding schools. So just a lot of things that the kids were learning, and they were able to find a way to help commemorate those who suffered throughout that history, but also celebrated the survivors who continue to get back their culture in their communities. And we actually ended the events with a Orange Day campaign for Every Child Matters. All students were wearing the orange shirts, gracious donors from Washburn and the Potawatomi tribe. So that was really powerful. Mr. Cates, well, actually, let me go through everything else and then he'll take over. We also have Asian American Pacific Islander Month, and we celebrate also all the different cultures. Ms. Bowley got to come last year and we had a lumpia wrapping night. That was a pretty great event. She got to take some of those home and enjoy them. And we also recognize some local Asian American Pacific Islander throughout Topeka and Lawrence, and we did a little documentary on them and invited them to come in. We recognized them. So Ms. Hauser, she'll showcase some of the things that we also do for social emotional.
Yeah, good evening, board members. I'm Miss Hauser, assistant principal at Robinson. So we got to start the year with what we call Challenge Day through the Challenge Day org. And it was a really special opportunity. Before school even started, we had how many kids?
60 plus.
Over 60 kids come in during their summertime before they even had to be back. And we held it in the gym, and they got to sit around and talk about life and what bothers them and what is difficult for them, the challenges that they all have to overcome. And the goal for this was really to see commonalities through our differences. And it was a really special event, and it got this school year started off on such a positive note and got everybody excited to be back at Robinson. The other thing I would say is we also wanted to showcase academic excellence. So we have started doing VIP quarterly lunches. Every quarter, students who are earning superior honors, they get a special lunch. Last quarter was pizza, and this quarter they actually requested that Mrs. Strom cook for them. They wanted fettuccine Alfredo. So they were all very excited about that. And it's just an extra special way for us to just show kids how much we appreciate their dedication to their education.
Is your slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you want the other slide?
Yes. So while he's queuing that up, I want to just say thank you so much for inviting me out to talk about an exhibition that really is near and dear to my heart. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Brown v. Board decision that ended segregation throughout the United States. And a lot of people know about that history, but not a lot of people know about the that how Topeka African American community laid the foundation for that. And so this exhibition will touch on that. Even lesser people know about the continued efforts to make sure inclusiveness, integration continues within Topeka, also the United States. The picture that's there is a picture of the Black Collective. About 2 years ago, there was a group of former teachers, and you might recognize some of them, Dr. New, I believe Miss Johnson, she's a former board member, Topeka Schools board member, came together with this idea that they really wanted to preserve this history and tell our stories. And so that kind of began the process in talking about how we could actually do that. That resulted, next slide, please. That resulted in the exhibition that is going to be at the Sabatini Gallery. And the Sabatini Gallery is located at the Topeka Public Library, and we're partnering with them. And it is a really true partnership, and we've been really beneficial to work with them. They have been one of our sponsors. And again, this exhibition, Our Stories, African American Topeka Before and After Brown, we're really focused on how African Americans came to this community. They came, of course, a lot of people don't know this, but there was an Underground Railroad here in Topeka. Of course, there was the Underground Railroad here. And one of the things that they did, we wanted to do with this story, is make sure that African Americans who were a part of that, their stories were told. We also wanted to focus on the exodusters. And this exhibition will ask the question, why? Why Kansas? There were so many other places that people could go, but Kansas was considered the promised land. And so we touch on that history. And of course, we go through and we look at the histories of some of the neighborhoods. The Bottoms, for example, that was located where the police station currently is. It was also where we're also going to be focusing on Mudtown, Tennessee Town, the Pierce Edition. All these were vibrant communities within Topeka that existed, and we're going to focus on those stories, telling about the people, telling about the churches and the businesses that took place in those different communities. Of course, lastly, we really want to touch on education. That was something that was really fundamental to us. And so next slide, please. The stories that we'll tell are people like Mammy Williams, of course, named the namesake for Williams School. Of course, General Peterson. General Peterson was one of the, he was the first African-American general in the United States Marine Corps. Nick Childs, all these people came out of Topeka, and we really wanted to honor those. One of the really neat things about this exhibition is how we're going to actually include artifacts. I was just on the phone with General Peterson's daughter this morning, and she's going to be providing artifacts to this exhibition. Dr. Anderson has also agreed to provide one of her artifacts, I believe one of her scarves, to this exhibition. So we're really excited about having a part of that. And, you know, the power of being able to tell stories through primary resources is something that we really wanted to do in this exhibition. If you want to go ahead to the next slide. One of the things that was really important to me was being able to really make sure that we include students. And I had brought one of my students here. We created a junior curator program, and students are working on telling these stories and really working on the bios of some of these former teachers and former students. And so I want to, she of course read the Pledge of Allegiance earlier. I want to introduce Annalise, and she's going to talk about her part in this exhibition.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Annalise Austin. I go to Robinson Middle School, and I am a former 8th grader getting ready to go into high school next year. I am doing a Black History Month research exhibition for living and non-living Black teachers, students, and principals. I'm researching 2 females, Mammy Williams and Letitia Yates. I believe Black history is important to know because it's a part of my heritage and a part of other students' heritage. There's so much we don't know, and being able to have a teacher that has a true passion about Black history is truly amazing. I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to be here speaking in front of you today.
And if you you're going to hear about her in 4 years. She's an amazing student. And I want to wrap this up and I won't go through the whole list of all the things that we're going to be doing, but I do want everybody to take note that the opening, of course, is going to be February 23rd, but we will have an opening reception on February 24th from 5:30 through 7:30. And I want to make sure you guys take note of that. But I also want to reach out, next slide, please, and make sure our sponsors are known. We had a lot of support for this exhibition. There was a lot of people who were really interested in supporting. So Washburn University, Visit Topeka, Freedom Frontier. I want to take note of them because this has to do with students. The Freedom Frontier is, they have a busing grant. And so we'll be writing grants for any school that wants to come see this exhibition. We will write a grant for that school, a busing grant for that school to come and see this exhibition, because we really believe that it's extremely important that all of our students understand this history. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Brenda Blackman and I'm here, excuse me, to talk about the Robinson Mural Project. So am I allowed to pass this out or does someone else do that? Okay, I just didn't want to go up there when I was supposed to. Okay, sounds great. Okay, so the Robinson Mural Project. So what you're seeing right now is the side of the building that we are going to be painting on, thanks to hopefully you guys approving the mural design that you are just now receiving, that everyone else is going to see here in just a couple minutes. So these doors actually lie on the east side of our school and face Clay Street between 14th and 15th. It faces our football field. It is the space where parents drop off in the mornings. And people also arrive here for events if we have like band concerts and things like that. So it probably has the most visibility. We actually walked the building and talked about several locations, and we picked this one simply because of the high visibility. Next slide, please. So we actually wrote the grant with Arts Connect. It's a part of their top grants program. So they awarded us $2,500. $2,000 of that dollar has to go to my muralist. So you're going to meet her here in just a second. The other $500 is for paint and supplies. Then our 21st Century Community Learning Center grant is matching us $500 for paint also. So we're going to end up with $1,000 for the paint. And then we're going to roll this whole entire Community Paint Day event that we're holding on April 20th into our title events. So we're going to have math and reading activities that also involve art for them to participate in. People can sign up to come and actually paint on the mural. And then the muralist comes in and kind of makes it look good and adds all the details later. So she'll come in and kind of put the outline up, and then people can come, kids, community partners, you guys, if you want to join us, can sign up and come paint with us on the wall for an hour at a time is how we're doing that. So, and then we'll have some food and activities and things for all the family members and stuff that want to come hang out on the lawn with us. Next slide. So this is how we did this. We started by polling all of our kind of community members, our staff, our students. Basically what we asked them was, what do you want people to know about you? And what do you think is great about us? So basically what we really want to do is we want to focus on why Robinson Middle School / Central Topeka is, in my really biased opinion, one of the coolest places to attend middle school and live. So for those of you that don't know, I grew up in Seaman, which has almost no diversity when I graduated a long time ago. So one of the things I love about Robinson is that we literally offer every program that 501 offers. We have everything from AVID to, I'm the behavior teacher, I run our BASER program, we have a gifted program, we have an ELL program. We offer everything. So our students really grow up with a really cool idea that like differences are just normal, and they don't even recognize those because they're just surrounded so much by different people. And for someone who did not grow up in a part of town that was like that, that is really fascinating to me, which is why I think this mural is so important, because I've also learned, as someone who didn't grow up in this specific community, that I was taught that my opinion is very important and that I should get to tell people that all the time. Our students don't believe that. They believe that like their community is really small and that they should stay in that really small part of their community and just never leave that. And I don't think that that's true, because we do some really cool things and they can take those out and do really neat things with it. So we made a word cloud. That word cloud is what you're looking at. We took that word cloud, next slide, and we chose our student muralists. And our student muralists met with our muralist, who you see kind of standing off to the right in that photo. So they took that word cloud and they drew her pictures. They talked about the things that they felt like were important. So that's the list of those students. Next slide. And they took all that information, and then our muralist, Sarah Meyer. So this is some of her other work. If you've ever eaten at Iron Rail, she did 2 of the paintings there. She worked on the Brown v. Board mural. She worked on the one at the police station. She works actually at Matryoshka Tattoo with Jennifer Bolander, who is pretty well known for murals around town. So several of those they've collaborated on together. The Wizard of Oz one actually got painted over. It made the news a couple years ago when that happened. Next slide. So we took all of that information, and by we, I mean her, and she made me these 3 models. So she created 3 actual murals designs, completely different. She tried to focus on something different in every single design. So then we took those back to our student muralists, and our student muralists got to really tell her what they loved, what they hated. If I could take this from number 1 and this from number 3 and put it in number 2, all of that information. And then she did what I think is probably the most amazing job as a person who got to sit in the room and take all the notes, and created, if you want to go to the next slide, our final design for us. So this is what our final design looks like. LR is probably going to kill me for saying this publicly on camera, but we actually went with the comic book theme so that I can add to this later. So we actually went with this kind of block theme because it allows us to add panels going forward, which is really important to the students, that they feel like other people get to leave their literal mark on our school at some point. So this is what we're starting with. So you'll see there's kind of a representation. I think if you go backwards, it will just keep going. I don't know. It's a literal representation of what they believe is important in their school. So I don't know if you, yep, there you go. Okay. The only thing that will not be what is you're looking at right now is she didn't want to spend a lot of time getting the text exactly the way that she intends it to look. It's going to have more of kind of a comic book graffiti feel to the text. So I do want to be forthcoming about that. She also didn't like our mascot, so she designed us one. She didn't like the one that was online. She didn't think it was like cool enough, I guess. So I'm actually going to try to steal it and ask her if we can use it from now on, because I think he's kind of cool. His name is Rusty, for those of you that don't know. And then our kids really were the ones who decided that we should incorporate some of the Spanish on there. They felt like that was really important in our building. If you'll notice the eggs and stuff, they felt like representation for all of the different disabilities and all the different type groups and communities and cultures that we have was really important to them. And they feel like the nest is kind of like your home and we all live here together. So they were trying to represent that. And then we kind of represented all of the activities, both academics and sports, that we offer in our building, because we do try to highlight all of that because we think it's all important. Any questions?
First of all, that was, we'll have a tremendous amount going on. With that, we will need consensus from the board regarding the mural painting, which is why she is here this evening sharing about her mural that Mr. Robbins has vetted and agreed to. But this does not require a vote, but a consensus that if the board is there anyone on the board that has a problem with the mural being painted on the side of Robinson? Looks like there are no individuals that disagree with that. And so as we move forward, this is called an equity update. So there are a few other items that we'll be talking about under this equity update, but is there a question or two for this incredible group?
Comment. Thank you all for being here. All of you have really brought some very powerful information with you to share with us this evening, and it's impressive. There are, if this is just a snapshot of the things that are happening at Robinson, this is really exciting. I am very, very much impressed with the mural. I'm impressed with the focus on Black history, not just during February, but it sounds like this is something that's ongoing. And Topeka's role in Black history, which means a great deal to me. And then I don't know that any of the other schools are really, or at least middle schools, are really doing the heritage months like Robinson is doing. So it's kind of interesting. Each school really kind of has its own niche or personality. And it looks like this is probably one of yours. And Ms. Strom, I know you have taken the lead on making sure that recognizing cultural heritage throughout the year is a priority for you. And having been invited to be a part of that before, I appreciated that experience. And so just I'll turn it over to my fellow board members, but just want to say to all five of you up there, bravo, thank you so much. Continue to do the great work that you've been doing. Anyone else? Ms. Stewart Campbell.
I absolutely love this mural. So I was.
Shout out, yeah, she helped us pick our students.
I was here for oh, that's okay. Ms. Blackman.
So.
Yeah, it was, and I love
I'm
how you
jealous.
incorporated the students and this design, and I'm not surprised because I do know the muralist, and she is an incredible talent. So as you can see, so I love how just all the different representation, we even have, you know, ASL on here. So excellent job. And I have a question for Mr. Kane. I'm also, like to Mr. Tatum's point, so impressed with everything Robinson's doing. And Mr. Kane, my question about the exhibit, this sounds like a lot of work was put into it and then all the various partnerships that were formed. Did Robinson take the lead on this, or how did this, can you just kind of walk us through how this all came together?
So, this exhibition came together because there was, again, the Black collective that consists of former teachers and principals really wanted to make sure that we were telling our stories. And so we came together and really thought about how we could actually do that. And this exhibition took fruition. The library reached out to myself and Sherry Camp, who is with the library, and said, hey, I can definitely say that I talked to Ms. Strom, and she has been in dialogue with me about this exhibition. So she, of course, knows about it and knows about what we're trying to do. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about her. We were in a conversation a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the exhibition and all the notable people that we were going to be looking at. And she said, well, what about the people that really don't stand, that really don't have that big name, or we don't know about them? And so we are working on actually being able to tell and those everyday heroes. And so that's something we're going to be doing at the Robinson School, and that's something we're also going to incorporate within the exhibition.
Wonderful. And could you repeat the date again of that reception?
Yeah, so the reception is going to be February 24th, and it's going to be from 5:30 through 7:30, and it's going to be at the Sabatini Gallery, and this is, of course, at the library.
Want to get that on my calendar. All right. Well, thank you all so much, and for choosing Topeka Public Schools.
Any other questions from any of the board members? Dr. Schumacher.
I'd be remiss as a former Robinson Raider, now Raven. Everything going on at Robinson makes me very proud, and kind of, some of what Ms. Blackman alluded to. I feel like my time in Topeka Public Schools was so important, and a lot of it was a lot of the different viewpoints. And for the staff and the teachers and the students like Ms. Austin to be able to continue to support that is amazing. So I look forward to going to the library if you need help with fettuccine, and then helping paint. I was Meadows Elementary had a mural that while my kids were there that we helped paint, and that was a pretty amazing experience. So I look forward to April 20th as well. Thank you.
All right, and we no longer, in place of the proclamations, we do proclaim that this is the month in which we celebrate Black History, one of the months. But in place of the proclamation, this is what we bring to you: people and stories and activities, instead of reading just a piece of, reading a document. But we'll be giving this document to Mr. Cates. And we do want to say both Ms. Hauser, Ms. Strome, and team, they are remarkable and have taken Robinson to a whole nother level just in this first half of the year. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is behind the scenes making murals and all these other things happen. I don't know how you got Mr. Robbins to agree to it, but that in and of itself is quite impressive, Ms. Blackman. Right. This is called Equity Update as they transition on out, and we're going to give you, Mr. Cates, the proclamation. And for our Robinson student, thank you for being here. As they transition out, we're gonna start this video. We say equity update right before we start.
The day is never the same. I always come in with a plan and then you just hit the ground running, and we'll do everything from teach lessons to meet with groups, individual kids, help out in the community. I try to make sure every single kid feels valued and then has the tools to deal with their everyday life and be a successful human.
We do all sorts of things. We focus on academics with students and helping them make sure that their grades are up. We focus on personal and social problems and other behavior issues that might be preventing them from being successful in the classroom. And then we also do some college and career stuff to help them see that there's life beyond high school.
Well, we work with our students to get them through high school and graduated and determine what their next steps are after high school. We work with our college and career advocate and with the colleges around our community. We visit colleges, we host career events and college events here at the school, working with them all 4 years to make sure that they kind of have an idea of what to do when they become adults.
A huge part of my job is ensuring that kids have a sense of belonging in their school environment. But our main job is to be the cheerleader for the kids, be the cheerleader for the staff, be the cheerleader for the parents. And every kid needs to remember how awesome they are, even when their day isn't so awesome. There's something awesome in every day.
My message to the counselors across the district is just keep working hard, focus on the students, you are awesome.
The joy in being a school counselor, especially a high school counselor, is seeing kids grow, progress in their 4 years with us. Our students, it's great because you kind of see them more from these ninth graders who are still trying to figure things out to crossing that graduation stage and having legitimate plans. It's really neat to see them take flight and fly away from us knowing that they are in good hands, they have a good head on their shoulders and great plan.
A-W-E-S-O-N-E, awesome, awesome, totally. Don't forget to be awesome.
Talk about to be awesome. So in order to be awesome, you have to have a sense of belonging. So our equity advocates every day are our counselors. Today we have Ms. Ryan and Ms. Wayan, who are both the lead for high school and middle school. They're going to come on up with one of our therapy dogs. She can share how many of therapy dogs we have. Again, we have a proclamation and we proclaim they're awesome, but rather than them reading that, they'll be able to answer any questions. This is the reason that our equity gap for students for every race and ethnicity has closed, or because our counselors are making sure they not only have a sense of belonging, but they're crossing that stage and into careers. We do want to mention Mallory Jacobs. The reason our elementary lead is not here is because she is in Washington, D.C. because she is the Kansas Counselor of the Year, and she is at her banquet this evening. And so being noted in Kansas as having the Counselor of the Year, we're going to turn it over to our leads to share who else may be here with them and to answer any questions you may have. Can we give them a warm welcome?
And in true Mallory form, she did send me something to bring to the board members, and it's sitting in my office because that is not my form. So just know she sent something for you all. So this is Coda, my therapy dog. I'm not sure how many we have in the whole district. 15. At French, we have 2 different ones. Coda goes twice a week and the other one goes twice a week, and they split Fridays with each, go opposite days. So one of the things that Dr. Anderson said that stuck out for me was that counselors help with that equity gap. And that's actually due to you guys because our ratios are in a line with the national standard and the state standard. And that makes a difference for our students because we're available to reach all students better because we have good solid ratios here. So thank you to that.
thank you guys for supporting us and supporting school counselors. I think it's important that we always advocate for what we do because just like the first person said, every single day we walk in and we have an idea of what we're going to do, but it never goes as planned. So thank you for your support and always just standing behind school counselors. I always say I truly have the best job.
Yes. So I know Miss Barnett is a middle school counselor who also works with me at French Middle School. And so she came out to support counselors because she is one.
Any questions from the board?
Any questions from any of the board members? Ms. Boley?
Well, I don't know that I have a question. I just am in your fan club. I just have seen the work that you do that help our students that just like Ms. Mallory said, not every day is awesome, but I'm always awesome in it. And you always make our students feel awesome in it. And your efforts are recognized and we're so pleased that you're there for our students because so many of them need you even more today. And I find it very interesting that we have 15 dogs in the district. And what is your viewpoint on having, because I know you've been here long enough that there weren't dogs at first. What's your viewpoint on dogs being in our school buildings with our students?
I absolutely love it. I have some students who struggle with anxiety or they just need a break and they just come outside my office and they sit down with Coda for a little bit, pet her for a while, couple minutes, and then like, okay, I'm going back to class. Or I walk into classes and it's the same. Coda just kind of walks through them and they just kind of reach out and pet her as she goes. Especially with those who have anxiety or things. I have 2 boys who every morning come to greet Coda and that's just how they start their day. And it's always like, oh, it's not a Coda day. And it's because it helps start their day positively. I also have staff that will come in sometimes when they're having a rough day, sit on the floor with Coda and just pet her for a while. And then like, okay, I can go back now and do what I need to do. So I think that she is a calming influence, not just for the students, but also the staff. And she has some kids that she regularly checks in with me. And it's just been a good positive thing to have.
What does their training look like? I'm assuming we just can't bring your personal pet in, correct?
Well, she is my personal pet, yes. However, you're right. She has gone through CGC training, which is Canine Good Citizen Training, and is certified through that. And then she has to go through another certification program. I went through Alliance of Therapy Dogs, ATD. There's different ones around. And so then they do their own testing to make sure that she qualifies. We also do like public access tests with them regularly. We make sure that they're up to date on all their shots and things like that as well. So yeah, not all dogs can be therapy dogs because they don't have the temperament for it.
Thank you. Appreciate that information.
Mr. Munoz?
And I just want to say thank you again to all of our counselors. As a parent, I found myself in a rough spot with my kiddo and we didn't know exactly what to do. And knowing that we were able to reach out to our counselor and whatever was going with my kiddo, they were able to open up to our local counselor, and the counselor also shared with us some tips and things that we could do. And so they're incredibly valuable. We appreciate all the work that you all do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart Campbell?
So you all are superheroes. And I was hoping you could just tell us a few things, like walk through, there's no such thing as a typical day. So like I know Ms. Wayan, we've emailed about concurrent enrollment. Can you just tell us about the myriad of various things you do? So it's a lot.
Sure. So right now, we're kind of in the thick of enrollment. So my week actually started with going to a middle school. I was at Robinson, so I spoke with middle school students. This week, we also have Royalty of Courts, so there's all sorts of fun things going on. Actually, this video, I was dressed as a student, so we were joking. I was like, of course today would be the day you want to video. Whenever I'm dressed like a student, I have Crocs on. Really, right now we're doing enrollment. I'm talking to all my students that are seniors. We are getting to the finish line. They know exactly what they need to do in order to graduate. CEP, concurrent credit, is also something that I'm still kind of finishing up, letting students know who we were able to scholarship and give some money to help support their journey to get their college tuition going and paid for. So still getting some of those rosters finished. Man, there's just so many things. We finished mid-year graduation last week. So that was it's always a special day. I always say coming to the high school level, graduation is my very favorite day because you get to just see that hard work really pay off. So enrollment, seniors, concurrent credit, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
And also help and students coming to you like for emotional, social, whatever types of support as well.
Yes, absolutely. I had a little gal today and there was a lot going on today because we had our Royalty of Courts Assembly. So she just needed kind of a quiet space to hang out and didn't need to talk about anything. We just kind of sat there and yeah, so just always there.
Right. Dr. Bonebrake he had his hand up.
Yeah, this may be a little more serious than we need. We really appreciate your services. Unfortunately, you're necessary. Why have things changed, or we just recognize that there's a problem with emotional distress now? Is it cell phones, iPhones, the internet, or are we just ignored it 30, 40, 50 years ago?
I think definitely things have changed from 30, 40 years ago when I was a kid. And part of it is technology. Part of it is access to things and what we say yes to our children for. And so, when I was a kid, going to a concert might not ever happen. And now we have elementary kids going to concerts, and I'm not judging that at all. It's just about how times have changed. And so how do we counter that? Kids are staying up really late at night and so they're tired. Just today, I had a kid in my office for suicide ideation. And then I had another kid in my office because she broke up with her boyfriend. And then another kid in my office because they need organization with math. And so they are not all coming to us with a lot of resilience yet. They're still building that. And so things like the Family Service and Guidance Center building is fabulous. We've had kids who've been hospitalized, but not in Topeka. And so it's harder for families to visit them and to stay in contact with them. And so having them here in Topeka and to be able to do that residency program here is really going to benefit some of our students. I think that it's just, times have really changed. You have both parents having to work. And so that makes a difference. I went to a very rural school. I went to Royal Valley. There were like 53 in my senior class. So that's very different than my middle school that I work at, which has about 470 students in it right now, right? And just that alone, the numbers that we have and the amount of interaction that they have, and sometimes that interaction never stops. They're in travel teams. They're in just tennis or roller derby or the theater stuff. And so they're always busy and always doing things. And I think that as adults, we get stressed out when we have too much going on. And so our kids are getting stressed out because they have too much going on and they don't always have the tools yet to handle it. Did that answer your question?
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Thank you, Ms. Wan. You all are exceptional and we appreciate your patience to stay for the equity update portion. Those are all the questions. We're going to go to our last equity update process.
Sounds good.
Let's give them another minute. And again, we're not proclaiming, but Dr. Gray, I'm going to give you this to take, so you can take a photo with them somewhere in that space so they can hold their proclamation. Our final equity update, we have an internationally known, famous individual in the space with us. It's been about 6 or 7 years since I've had Dr. Gomez back here. Dr. Gomez has been waiting patiently, so thank you so much with your very long day. Dr. Gomez, really the introduction is probably best by Dr. Mejia, who was, I think, still a principal when he first came to visit, or were you an assistant principal then? She was assistant principal then, so I've been here 8 years, so 6 or 7 years ago. So Dr. Mejia is going to come up and give the proper introduction and then turn it over to Dr. Gomez, who's been with us for a couple of days. Dr. Mejia, can you do the honors? If you haven't read the Wall Street Journal, you do have an article in front of you. We're in the Wall Street Journal today for how we approach inclusivity. They spent their time at Scott Dual Language. It's on our social media as well. We're excited about the continued international and national press. We'll turn it over to Dr. Mejia.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, board members. This is like a dream come true because I have been wishing, wanting, and hoping for Dr. Gomez and his expertise to come back to Topeka to continue supporting our dual language programs. He is an amazing person who is always at our fingertips, at text message, at phone call with, to help us clarify questions that we might have, move things forward from a distance. He's here and he has completed his second day of the 3 days that he will be here. 2 of them at Scott Dual Language Magnet, and tomorrow is our secondary day. So we look forward to visiting with Mrs. Cooney and team and Mr. Dick and team as well. Dr. Gomez has over 30 years experience all through the Gomez and Gomez Dual Language Enrichment Program. And there are over 950 dual language Gomez and Gomez schools in the nation. He is a force to be reckoned with. He is vetted and proven to be an amazing leader, someone who supports us and pushes us, meets us where we are, and then takes us to the next level. Welcome, Dr. Gomez, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, esteemed board members. That's the best $20 I spent in a long time to do the introduction. Yeah, it's wonderful to be with you. My career has been the centerpiece dual language, and it's a pleasure to work with programs like Topeka Public Schools, Scott Dual Language, and the secondary dual language programs. She says I'm at their beck and call, and the reason I'm at their beck and call is because I match passion with passion. I'm not on the beck and call with a lot of my schools. Yeah, I'll get back to them. I'll return an email sooner or later. I'll see when I have some time. But when it's Topeka Public Schools, I text right back, I call right back, etc. Because the passion they show in their program is truly palpable. You can feel it. The vibe in the last 2 days that we've been working with the teachers at Scott Dual Language Elementary is no denying of it. People said it independently of each other, how the feeling, the passion, the excitement was just obvious everywhere. We had a great 2 days. We got to visit every single classroom. We got to visit the kitchen help. We got to visit the music teacher. We got to visit the PE. We got to visit the tier 2 delivery, the tier 3 delivery. We got to visit the entire school and spend some quality time with each person because it is a team effort. I mentioned to the folks there that Topeka Public Schools also is near and dear to my heart because you're one of the very few total school dual language programs. There's a lot of dual language programs, but 97% of them are strands within a school. It'll be 1 classroom every grade level or 2 classrooms every grade level doing dual language, and the rest of the school is not. At Scott Dual Language, it's the entire school. Every single room, every single person is one team working to the benefit of the children of Topeka Public Schools. So I just put on some few notes, and I would love to answer any questions you might have. But Rosie is my colleague, and she gets to do these trainings with me, but now and then I hold something back. She was asking me today, why haven't you explained this to me? I said, because I taught you everything you know, but I'm never going to teach you everything I know because then she'll replace me. No, she's very, very adept. And she had her own dual language program at one time, and it was very, very, very successful. But the program, it's a Scott Dual Language. We just finished the last 2 days. I'm looking forward to the secondary tomorrow. But the Scott Dual Language we visited is a program that is doing great. We found 5 exemplary teachers, 2 honorable mention teachers, and a whole bunch of teachers that are really close to taking that next step and become that all they can be, all to the benefit of their students. There are some things we need to work on. Sure. What program does not have things they need to work on? But they definitely are not in any shape, way, or form in dire straits. They have some very quality people, some very quality experiences. We in our program, it's content-based, our dual language program. That's another thing that makes it very unique. Most dual language programs that are not Gomez and Gomez are by time. For example, they do everything today in English, and they do everything tomorrow in Spanish. When Leo and I, my brother, that's why it's Gomez and Gomez, we both developed this way back 30 years ago when we came out of our PhD programs where we specialized in dual language. And dual language is just becoming known back then. So districts started to approach us to help them to implement. We were both professors at different universities. And I've been a professor at university, I've been a state school director at Washington State for 6 years as their state director. But my passion, my joy is still working with dual language program that keeps me anchored in the classrooms with the kids. That's how I feel connected to the kids. So that's my real passion. The program is designed to do by content, meaning math is in one language all the time, science is another language all the time, social studies, etc. So at the end of the day, they still have a 50-50 experience, but it's done through content area. Because when it's done by time, it is a recipe and disaster in the waiting. Because talk about micromanagement. Every teacher has to tell another teacher where I'm going to stop in math today, and science today, and social studies today, and language arts today. And then the other teacher has to be ready for that. And if a teacher is absent, heaven help them, because everything comes to a standstill, because the other one cannot move because the other one hasn't done their part. I mean, it's just a myriad of issues that right time present. So when Leo and I talked about this and developed our model, we did it from the perspective of the teacher who was going to have to implement it. And we said that would drive me nuts if we did it by time and so much micromanagement. So we did ours by content, and it's been very, very successful. Our program is a gifted and talented dual language program. It's not officially gifted and talented or highly capable, but it does all the best practices that you find in a highly capable, gifted, and talented program. In fact, in Texas, I am registered with a state that all my trainings can also be used for professional development hours for their gifted and talented efforts. So in Texas, and at least in Texas, all the trainings they do there, it can count for general professional development, or it can count also towards their gifted and talented hours, because it's the same practices we do in gifted and talented. I was a former gifted and talented teacher. And that's when I found out, when I learned all these best practices as a teacher, high school teacher, that all kids can learn with these best practices. Because I had gifted and talented kids, but I also had honors program kids, but I also had general ed kids, but I also had an ESL class. And I did the strategies with all the children, and they all succeeded to a very high level. So that stayed with me. So when later in life I became professor, trying to develop a model, I said, I want a GT program for all kids. I love GT kids. I love my teaching GT kids, but they have a lot of blessings already. But you know who needs some of those blessings? Our poor, our poverty kids, our EL kids, our special ed kids, our other kids also need those blessings. And so when we start teaching to the best practices, then we're going to maximize the potential and capacity of every child. To us, it's not about every child reaching the 100th percentile. To us, it's about every child reaching the maximum potential for that individual child. That's what we look for, every child to their capacity. They're not competing against other kids. They're competing against themselves to maximize their capacity. And so we've been doing it for 30 years. I hate to say that because that means how old I am, way too old, for 30 years. And I love to say this, we've never lost a patient yet. In 30 years, we've never had a program fail. Some are stronger than others, but all of them beat what came before they went to dual language. And the stronger the fidelity, the stronger the results. So what we're seeing right in the last 2 days, and congratulations to the administrative team at Scout Dual Language, their entire administrative team from the principal on down. Congratulations to Dr. Pilar here, Mejia, because she also attended with us every single classroom. She went with us. And so this then doubles, the classroom visits double as a very strong administrator training also, because then they get to see what are the things that we're looking for, why, how does this work? They hear our conversations with the teacher, they hear the suggestions. So we left behind some very excited coaches. They can't wait to start supporting their teachers to get them to that next level for each one. But our teachers were so excited to have time to talk and get suggestions and talk through some things, answer some questions. We had a Q&A at the end of the day today. Teachers came to it. And man, we started hearing from them. What we talked about yesterday, I'm already doing it today. I've already changed this, I've already done that. Wait till, take it easy, go slow. We know you're busy. Scott Dual Language teachers are not gonna wait till tomorrow. They started moving and changing those things right away. So congratulations to your program. Congratulations, Dr. Gorsuch and Dr. Mejia for their leadership. And it's good now, but you ain't seen nothing yet. And we keep on them and we keep doing the training, we keep doing the visits. You ain't seen nothing yet. We just had one of your brethren states, Missouri, because I landed in Missouri and drove over. In Missouri, one of our charter schools there, Gomez and Gomez Charter School, they just got named #1 among 79,000 charter public schools. They were by U.S. News and World Report. #1. And that's usually what happens if we get consistent, because you have turnover, you have all kinds of issues that it needs constant attention. Otherwise, in a few years, without that constant attention, it gets off the yellow brick road, and then there's more we have to do to bring it back. But we're not starting from the beginning. We're starting from a good place, and it's just going to get better. So I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
And board members, we have Ms. Gorsuch, who is here with us, Ms. Gorsuch D. Moranville, our Landon principal, Ms. Cooney is here with us. Topeka High also is our dual language program for those that are listening in the audience online. And as Dr. Gomez is here, this is the professional development that 6 years ago when he came and visited all the classrooms and said, here's what you need to do. That was before we were pre-K through 12. Now we're pre-K through 12. He's able to come back, visit every classroom, meet with principals, spend time with Dr. Mejia at all these classrooms. And this is now the staff development that's just an ongoing way of how we do business and measure ourselves. Turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Dr. Bonebrake.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm wondering if your techniques cannot be transferred to
Yes, sir.
non-dual
Yes, sir.
language
The
schools.
strategies work for all children, regardless of language, regardless. And so we have a training, for example, we call it Going Blue. Because in our program, blue is the color we designate for the English part of our program and for the English dominant kids. So we have a training where we train general ed teachers on all the strategies we use in dual language, but it's not a dual language classroom, it's just a regular classroom. Because I mentioned in about 85% of our programs, 85% of our schools, the dual language kids are the highest performing kids in their respective schools. So then those principals start saying, like we just said, my DL kids are doing great. Can you train my general ed teacher? So they also will use the same strategies. So then we start bridging to general ed. And so we start bringing those strategies into the general ed classroom, and then they similarly experience success.
So it'd only be a single language with the other schools. Would you charge half as much?
Well, I have to work twice as hard on it.
Anyone else?
Yes,
Mr. Munoz.
I'm particularly interested in the excitement among our teachers. I'd love to hear either from Ms. Mejia, Dr. Mejia, or from Ms. Gorsuch, sort of what they're hearing from our own teachers and ways that we can support what they're taking from the last few days or so.
Ms. Gorsuch D. Moranville and Ms. Cooney, if you all come forward a little bit, then you can take turns sharing about the excitement from your teachers. And we'll start with Ms. Gorsuch D. Moranville.
And I want to share before I pass it on that, this can be an intimidating or scary, situation for teachers. The atmosphere of positivity, of lightness, of encouragement, of hope, and of let's do this was so noticeable that I was so proud and impressed by it. But Mrs. Gorsuch D. Moranville, you finish off.
Good evening, board members. It's nice to be back again. And I do have to add that I thought I saw a couple of tears of happiness from Dr. Mejia from some of the feedback today. And okay, I find I might have teared up a little bit. It's just so incredibly powerful to see teachers get the appreciation and the acknowledgement for what they're doing. Not from me, they hear it from me all the time, but from someone else, from an expert who's so esteemed as Dr. Gomez. And I just can't not take the opportunity to thank Dr. Mejia in our district and Dr. Gomez. I actually didn't know we were your favorites. I think that's what you were saying. But he really truly goes above and beyond in supporting us. There's times that he's given us an hour training just to answer our questions. He's for free. He has responded in like paragraphs and paragraphs to our questions and emails. And I just really want to thank you for continuing to help us and just for the experience. Our teachers were scared. They were nervous. And yesterday, at the end of the day, I was like, feels lighter here. People seem happier. Everyone was kind of like, how are we doing? What's the verdict? Are we failing? Are we good? And by the end of today, one of my counselors came up and she said, people are super happy. They're like light and feeling good. And this was great feedback. And I just have to say too that Mrs. Sandoval and Dr. Gomez, the way that they present feedback, they acknowledge everything that the teachers are doing well. They give them an opportunity to ask questions. And then what I heard him say over and over again is, we're not coming to judge you or give you feedback that you don't need. We're coming to help you go up the next level on the ladder. And so that's why it's important that we continue to provide this support for them, as well as strong foundation and training, because they're responsive to needs and to research. And so as we go through each year, there may be some new things that they are adapting in their program to continue to make the practices effective. And so it's really great for teachers to see that not only are they growing in their practices and learning, but so does the model. And just to have the opportunity to learn and grow in a very personal way. So each and every teacher got one-on-one time with Dr. Gomez, and we got to listen in on everything. So it really was a great opportunity for professional development, and I'm really excited for Mrs. Cooney to get this opportunity and for Mr. Dick too as well. So teachers loved it, and anyone's welcome. I mean, you're welcome to ask them too. We'll do a feedback survey just to see how we can improve the process, because we always want it to benefit them. But it was a good feeling.
Thank you, Ms. Gorsuch de Moranville. So he hasn't gone to Landon yet or Topeka High. He will do that next. So with Ms. Cooney, I didn't know if you wanted, I didn't want to skip over you because I know you came to the meeting.
I really came to just learn more from Dr. Gomez. I've been asking for training since I accepted the position at Landon because, of course, I am not a dual language speaker, and we did not have that program at McCarter. So I'm learning, the learning curve is very high for me this year, but it's been really rewarding. And I think one of the things that's really helped me this year the most before meeting Dr. Gomez is Pilar has gotten us together as a strand or with all levels together in 2 meetings. And that's really helped the dialogue. I know that Melanie has come to those meetings as well, but I'm just trying to learn as much from this guy as I can. I got to meet him last night. He's very personal. He was very helpful. And one of the things that I want to pick his brain about tomorrow when he's at Landon is I asked him about middle school models. And apparently there are quite a few middle school models out there, which only makes sense because as students start graduating from high school and you have people that are competing for jobs, if you have a very solid candidate that can speak Spanish and a very solid candidate that can't, as an employer, you're going to go with the person that can speak Spanish. So what he told me last night was a lot of people, a lot of districts are trying to play catch up, whereas Topeka Public Schools, we've had this model in elementary, middle, and then high for the last several years. Now, can my school get better and improve? Absolutely, we all can get better and improve. I liked your question, Dr. Brombrake, because what I've thought coming in is that although we are going to tour the DL classes tomorrow, in middle school, it's a little bit different than Scott because the DL programs are in the ELA and the math programs, but then those students are in science, social studies, and PE and music and their electives.
So it's nice that the philosophies that Dr. Gomez is going to teach me more about tomorrow are applicable in all the different classrooms. So because they're not only in DL. So I'm just looking forward to learning more from him tomorrow, and I appreciate you paying the moolah to get him here. So thank you for coming. It was nice to meet both of you. And
So you
I'll
can
see again tomorrow.
hear the excitement in our staff and in our leaders. The last time that Dr. Gomez came, when I came, I wasn't familiar with the model, which is why I said we need to invite him if he hasn't been here to really help me learn. And that's where the Puerto Rico trip came from, in terms of how do we recruit. At the time, we had several vacancies. As well as our staff actually visited a school, it was a college for all school in Texas. And so as they learn about the other places and the exemplar models, or probably the Spanish immersion school in St. Louis, being able to go visit other places beyond Topeka that aren't too far, that are just a drive down the road. Board members, are there any other questions? But we are excited.
Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Estamos muy emocionados que usted está aquí. So we're really excited that you're here. And I just want you to know that dual language is one of the big reasons I wanted to serve on the school board, to continue to advocate and promote for its continued success. And I also want you to know that my children have benefited tremendously. We're an L1 English speaking home, and my children are at Topeka High, so a freshman and a junior. And I love it that my daughter puede hablar de geometría en español, so she can do geometry in Spanish. And it's just amazing. So thank you so much for being here and all your work and all of the leadership. And so when you go to secondary, so this is my question. When you go to secondary tomorrow, I'd love to hear ideas and feedback about how we can prevent attrition. And I know there's just natural attrition at secondary, but any ideas, in fact, if you have any ideas now on ways that we could encourage our Scott students to stay in dual language when they go to Landon, and then when they move from Landon to Topeka High, to stay in dual language.
Well, yes, actually. First, you're on the right track here in Topeka. Other places are catching up, like Dr. Mejia said, because this year, as of a couple of months ago, we got word that now 50 states out of 50 states have approved in their state educational agencies secondary biliteracy dual language programs. 50 states out of 50. It was 33 like 3-4 years ago. Then it went to 44. Then it was 47 last year. And now it's 50 out of 50. What's driving that? When your daughter graduates and she goes up for a scholarship, and she's a very good student, wonderful student, has all kinds of wonderful things, and she goes up for a scholarship against another wonderful student that's also awesome, but one of them can do it in 2 languages and one can do it in 1. Who do you think is going to get the scholarship? And that's what the states were finding out, and that's why they're rushing. All the scholarships to be had were going to 100% of the dual language graduates. And then the rest of the scholarships were going to then, once we've exhausted our dual language students, then who else is applying? And so now they're trying to level the field for their graduates so they have opportunities to compete for those scholarships. So your daughter's in good shape and in good stead.
But Ms. Cooney, with an 8th grader who's like, nah, it's not important, she could talk to them about the scholarship. I mean, do you have any ideas on how she could tell them?
I'll mention 2.
Okay.
And we have the largest secondary dual language in the United States is one of our programs, Gomez and Gomez. And that's PSGA. And we're talking about 5 high schools, 8 middle schools, and 26 elementaries, all doing dual language. And they've been the largest secondary program in the US for about 10 years now or more. But here's the thing that we've learned along the way. Dual language in secondary will only succeed if it's a big dog in secondary dual language, in secondary programs. In other words, you're asking them to compete with the big dogs that are already there. You're asking them to compete with orchestra and band and athletics and a pre-AP and dual college credits. And so then you're never gonna get, because the kids are coming up strong and they have choices. They're no longer LEP, and the English kids were never were, but now they have it strong in 2 languages. But why would I pick this program if it's not gonna give me some wonderful things like this other program? So the first thing they learned was, if we wanna be competitive, then we have to be competitive. So then every dual language program I know at the secondary level that's been very successful get dual college credit. So those kids, when they finish high school, come out with the Associate of Arts degree already completed. Those kids coming out of PSJ come out and they start as juniors when they get out of high school. So that's very incentive for the parents. Those kids are getting advanced placement testing as they go into 8th grade. Every child in the dual language programs are getting advanced placement testing. And so college credits are being already accrued and high school credits since 8th grade, and then the dual credits as they go through high school. So the bottom line is it has to be a high quality program because the kids are coming out as high quality kids. And so then they have a lot of choices. And the second big thing is the parents are the key. Kids are not making decisions what program they're going to go into secondary. Parents are making those decisions. The parent is saying, no, I want my kid to be an orchestra. No, I want my kid to be athletic. So you have to get to the parents and explain to them the benefits of continuing to secondary dual language. And I'll just give you one more. The third is it has to be criteria to get in. If there's 20 spots open and there's 40 people applying, everybody wants to be one of those 20. If there's 50 spots open and there's 20 people applying, anyone can get in there. So it has to be something that is, again, competitive in the way that it's an elite academic program that you're offering the parents for them to take a look at it as something viable. Now, the nice thing is for your newcomers that come in secondary, you now have a new tool. You have a class taught in Spanish where the kids in there, work well together, are academically well suited. Now you have a place to put that kid who comes in as a newcomer, doesn't know any English. And if you didn't have that place, he would probably get a failing grade, not, especially high school, not collect credits. High school is all about credit accrual. So now you have a place for that newcomer, put him in there so you can get credit for geometry in Spanish or for something else in Spanish, plus his foreign language, plus his PE. So we protect his first year so he can collect enough credit so he can go to sophomore the following year and not then start dropping out on us, after 1 year or 2 here. So it gives the program another avenue for another very challenged group, the newcomers. So there's a lot of advantages, but it has to be, it's an elite academic program and it competes with the big dogs. It's a big dog itself. So that's what I present to the parents. And their parents are the ones that want secondary for their kids. But those that don't go there, it's because they're saying, well, I would love to, but I want them to be in this other elite program or this other elite program. So when we become an elite program, you're going to see a lot of those Scott parents wanting their kids to continue and get those benefits. Okay, we're actually we started already conversations like that. What is the transition plan from Scott to secondary? What are the things we need to look at? And that's something we want to develop this next, over this next year is what changes do we recommend to get to more of what you're saying, more folks staying in there so they can survive.
Well, you'll hear this tomorrow, and I was going to tell my fellow board members this during the comment section, but you'll hear this tomorrow when you're at Topeka High. So last night was like freshman night for the incoming freshmen, and there was a special presentation specifically for dual language. So the 8th graders going into 9th grade, packed house, standing room only. And I also went last year because I did have an incoming freshman. This year I didn't. I just went to represent the board, making a statement. This matters. We care. And I was really pleased to see a packed house.
The interest is huge. And in the long future, why not have another Scott somewhere else? Well, once we get it going like gangbusters, why not have another Scott? That way you give more English dominant parents another option. So why not spread the blessings?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just the bilingual teacher shortage, but
yes.
Vamos a Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. When I met with Dr. Anderson 6-7 years ago, I told her Puerto Rico because I had already experience with teachers from Spain and other countries. And it's always the visa thing. And then they're young and they want to go back to go to Puerto Rico. They're already citizens. And she told me this over a can of Dr. Pepper. Dr. Anderson, are you still drinking Dr. Pepper? I remember you had a refrigerator full of Dr. Pepper.
Guilty as charged.
You got to his charge. But thank you.
Okay, muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Para todo.
Gracias. Muy amable.
I want to make sure all board members get a chance to ask a question. Any questions or comments from any of the other board members? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Looks like the next item under superintendent's report is the mid-year graduation update.
We had a mid-year graduation. That really is the update. Is about 200 students that graduated, and we were excited that many of our board members were there. I believe the slide that we showed prior to you coming out had the data for those that are watching on the screen or that were already in the audience, but approximately 200 students graduated, and not everyone shows up. 20 to 30 show up at each graduation, and those students then that didn't show up often come to the May graduation, but this gives all of our students a running start. That really is the conclusion of our report. And Dr. Gray's already taken a picture. Great. I was going to tell him, follow Dr. Gomez out and get that photo. But that does conclude our report, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Okay, board members, that takes us to board member comments. So we're at the bottom end of our meeting, and I think we'll just go ahead and start. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to start right here with our vice president. And Dr. Schumacher, do you have anything that you want to report out on?
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't have more time. The first time I sat in this seat, I thought I'd get to relax for a little bit, listen to 4 of my colleagues talk. I had no committees. Yeah, I had no committees. So I will have some updates for committees next time. And I just want to thank our guests that came tonight, the counselors. As a pediatrician, sometimes there's questions that parents have, and I don't really always know the best step, but a lot of times they'll say, have you talked to the school counselor? Because they're accessible, the kids don't have to leave school, and they're just wealths of knowledge as we saw tonight. Again, very proud to be a Robinson, now Raven, and Dr. Gomez's. I hope that the momentum continues for Dr. Gomez's visit. And I think that's all I have, other than just being sad that I'm not going after Dr. Von Break anymore. Last time.
Yeah. I like mixing it up. So next time you might go after Dr. Bumbrick. Who knows? Mr. Munoz.
I attended a policy committee meeting. We didn't go over anything except for some changes which will be in the works regarding graduation requirements. So we will see that at our next meeting. But it's changes that are being considered that reflects changes that we're being asked from the state level. So KSD. So yeah, so we'll see that next time, but and eventually it'll get to us here, but we just went over sort of a cursory draft of it as it stands right now. Other than that, I've been to a number of events that are happening right now related honor roll, related to, I missed Ross's pancake fundraiser. Yes, I had it on my schedule. They changed it at the last minute, and that was why, but I always look forward to that every year, as well as a couple of other events I've been to in some of our schools. So look forward to attending a lot more events. If you all who are listening have events, shoot us an email, invite us. I'm sure all of us, I think that's true for all of us, that if we can make it in our schedules, we're always happy to attend. And I know that I received one last minute from Highland Park to honor their students who achieved honor roll. And so I was happy to be able to move things around and attend and congratulate our students. We can't say great job and congratulations enough to our students, especially those who are putting in the effort and achieving achieving, recognition for their grades. And so I met a lot of students at Highland Park and look forward to more events along the same lines. So that's my report.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Bowley.
Oh, you were lucky I wasn't able to change my schedule around to make that, and I was disappointed. So I did have an ICC meeting this last month, and the prison system came to talk to us, and they are talking about their changing population and how they are addressing that. There's a lot more mental illness ending up in our prison system. And so they are actually have great plans to address that and maybe separate those prisoners from the actual other prisoners because of the need for care rather than imprisonment. So it's very great to hear that our community is so forward thinking in that area. Our tech committee was canceled, so we didn't have to have any notes sent to us to report. So that was really great. All kinds of bills are hitting the State House now. Everyone's coming up with bills. One of the important ones that I wrote a testimony letter on today was the Kansas Policy Institute and the K through 12 committee in the House are trying to push through a bill to take away school accreditations if they don't follow state laws. And so there's no danger of that. Schools are very good at following state laws, but just that our government would keep repeating that somehow or another public schools are not behaving in the appropriate way is just really discouraging. And so Ms. Representative Christy Williams gave just 2 days for testimony letters to get in or even get the information out. But I did send one today about that. There's a lot coming through that aren't, don't look very favorable towards education, but it's the same idea. Putting in the minds of people that public education isn't doing what it needs to do. And so anytime you can send off a letter on something like that, to contact your representatives, it's very important. Mid-year graduation, I wanted to thank all 3 high schools in our district. They went all out, made those students feel just as important as if it were May. And they just did a beautiful job. And I wanted to thank them for that. It was wonderful to see the students walk their walk. Basketball is in full force. Get out and see some really great basketball. It's amazing. I got to attend a music program at Ross. And I was talking with Dr. Gardner tonight. We were both saying it's the best music program that they have had. And every student was participating with instruments and vocals, and it was quite the production. Dr. Anderson and I were at the State House supporting Mrs. Dela Cruz as she did testimony to the state, both committees and Senate and House education committees. And she did a really nice job representing the important need of public education and how they can support teachers and public education. She was phenomenal. I also want to thank all the people who sent us appreciation letters, all the students, all the schools, the principals. It's very nice to receive those. And I also wanted to share a Christmas card. I haven't been able to share it yet. It's from Miss Smith. She had come to our board meetings a couple of times. She was a Topeka West graduate, and she sent me a Christmas card and says, "Happy holidays. I'm thrilled to share my classes are going great. My grades and professors are fantastic. I'm also making meaningful connections and successful adjusting on my path to becoming a doctor, OBOYN." And so she is just being very successful, and that's kudos to all of us. And, the board, the district, the schools, the support they get there, that she's having such a successful career. And Dr. Anderson, thank you for all the highlights, and the meeting was so informative tonight. And I just wanted to thank you for that. I learned a lot of, in both areas that were highlighted. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Stewart Campbell.
Yes, so the Sheldon Head Start Committee, we didn't meet. However, I just wanted to point out, and this is in the business by consent, that, so, and I'm sure you read it, but I think this is really cool that we're doing this, how the TCALC, the education pathway, how they go to Sheldon Head Start every Thursday for 3 hours. So I think it's great practice for them. It's great for the students. And I also wanted to mention that February 13th is the federal review, which is a very big deal. And I want to thank Ms. Boley and Dr. Schumacher for being able to attend from 9 to 9:30. And I'm so sorry, I can't. I have a class, but I wanted to thank them for being able to attend that. And the last thing I had to say is we all got an email from a teacher. I think she sent it to all of us. Anyway, from a teacher encouraging us to read more about the outdoor education program. Maybe not everyone got it. Okay, okay, I'll send it.
Yeah.
Okay, if
I think
not,
I
I'll
got
send it to Miss Lister to send to everybody. But it really, it caught my attention. And so I asked her for a phone call. And so we talked today. She told me more about the idea, how we used to have one and then it got discontinued, and what might it take to bring it back. And a quote she said that I wrote down that I really liked was, "Some of the most inspiring classrooms are not within four walls." Anyway, so if you didn't get it, I encourage you to go back and read it, or I'll just go ahead and send it to Miss Lister to resend to you. So I'd like to just kind of dig in a little more about what this entails, the outdoor education program. And that's it. That's all I've got. You're on, Dr. Bonebrake.
All right, Dr. Bonebrake. Dr. Bonebrake, can you sit closer to my microphone? Thank you.
I wonder if the Gomez and Gomez techniques can't be applied during our professional development days. It'd be great to have our teachers enthusiastic and smiling and appreciated, which brings up the second thing. Dr. Anderson, Dr. Nick Gardner, Billy Wallace, Sarah Sharp, and I all went to Missouri to see a year-round school in Hickman Mills School District, the Ingalls Elementary. We went into 6 classrooms, and all these teachers were so enthusiastic, almost dancing around. And the children in those classes were so enthusiastic, they'd raise their hands to answer a question before the teacher had asked the question. How often do you see that anywhere? I mean, but they run into the school building. I wonder if they run out of the school building when they leave. Anyway, we have encouraged Dr. Gardner, principal at Ross Elementary, to look into developing an extended school year. The Ingalls Elementary was 32 extra days. And we're looking at introducing the summer school at Ross, which is like breakfast at 7:30 to 8:15, classes till 11:30 or 11:45, and then lunch. So extending their educational time, making our baby step to proceed to 32 days extra, and paying the teachers their hourly rate for those extra days. And they had, most of the teachers were enthusiastic. Dr. Gardner's already gone around and talked to basically all the teachers except the 5th graders, thinking they're not going to be there next year anyway. But the ball is rolling. We'll see how far it goes. We'd like to get something started so we can provide a better education, so we can maybe keep our offspring in a state with better jobs and be a destination district, a destination state. maybe we can make changes. That's all.
Right. Dr. Anderson, if Dr. Gardner is working on some sort of a assessment for extending the school year, I think that would be good for the board to hear. So if the board agrees, maybe we can hear a little more about this, maybe from a presentation from Dr. Gardner or others who went to participate. Sounds intriguing.
Yes, sir. We'll be sure to add it to a future agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. The only thing that I have left, colleagues, I want to double down on the comments that Dr. Anderson and Mrs. Boley made about the mid-year graduation. I thought that was a wonderful experience. I thought that we indeed tried to create an environment in which didn't matter if it was mid-year or not, the graduates felt like they were walking on top of the moon because we had elevated them and their, accomplishments to that level. Even though it wasn't the big graduation in May. So I thought that was a fantastic experience and several of us were there to support them, as already been mentioned. So that was absolutely positive. The only other thing, because I don't think I was at any committee meetings since we met last time. So the only thing that I wanted to be sure to call to your attention is in the materials that you already have at your places. You will find the revised version of the committee assignments. After speaking with all of you, I made some changes. Some things needed to change based on the changing of the president and the vice president positions. But I told everybody I was going to make minimal changes and adjustments, and I really did that in conjunction with you all. So for most of you, nothing has changed. For the few of you who do have changes, you already are knowledgeable about it, but now you have a updated and revised version. So just wanted to call that to your attention. So having said that, we're at the end of the meeting. At this point, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. All right. Mr. Mignot seconds. All in favor?